Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Efficiency and Safety Equal to Productivity series. I'm here with Mike Millerick. Mike is an industry expert and industry leader who's been in the business for the last 30 years, running from manufacturing to warehousing operations. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, Saurav, thanks for having me.
It's great for us to have you here, Mike. I wanted to ask you a simple question to start off so that our listeners and our viewers know who you are. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your past, and where you come from?
Yeah, so like you had introduced me a little bit, kicked off that, I've been in the industry for quite some time. I've earned my salt and pepper looks from being in there for a while now. Certainly I started out in the manufacturing space or on the shipper side of the business, earned my stripes, operating a forklift. That was my first job in the manufacturing. So I was a user of the equipment that you and your team are trying to make safer for all of the workers today. So I can appreciate what it was like to operate that heavy piece of equipment and the risk that comes with it. And unfortunately, made my way through that career and got to a point where on the shipper side of the business, I was managing warehouses, in the West and the Southwest. And I changed my career and I moved over to working on the third party logistics side, right? So I love that customer facing side of the business, right, and wanted to, grow my experiences to be able to sit on the other side of the table, I guess.
Right.
And had the opportunity over the last 7 years to serve some great third party logistics companies and have very large customers I've been working with. And that takes me to where I am now, being able to have conversations with, organizations like yours, with the team that you put together around how to drive safety and efficiency inside of an organization.
Thank you, Mike. So just so that our viewers know what kind of companies you worked at, would you be able to tell us some of the names of the big organizations that you've traversed through your career?
Yeah, I was really fortunate early on to be able to start with the M&M Mars organization. Everybody loves their candy. They know.
I love it too.
They know what that means to them. And Mars is a great organization. They got so many different areas to work in there, and it's a great place to bring you up as a leader. And I moved on from them and went to work for DB Schenker. DB Schenker, one of the top global logistics companies out there, and then NFI, another terrific logistics organization that plays a little bit less on the global scale, but has great customers. I've had customers, Lowe's Home Improvement, so a nice retail type of business, and then Procter and Gamble. We all know Procter and Gamble, a great big consumer provider out there.
Right. So in your journey through manufacturing into what are some of the safety? What have you learned? What have you seen?
Everybody, and it doesn't matter, the safety is always, number one, right? So go into a quarterly business review, and the first metric that you're going to want to talk about is safety, right? So what are you doing to keep people safe? But as an operator, we believe that, and we're always looking at the obstacles. And unfortunately, one of the obstacles out there is efficiency, is productivity, right? So how do you keep people moving very, very quickly while at the same time keeping them safe?
Right.
And you also need to keep costs down, right? So you often have equipment that might be aged a little bit. It could have wear and tear on it just from being in the operation for a while.
Right.
And then even beyond the equipment, it's the people, right? That very, very valuable resource that we're trying to protect.
Right.
Well, if we look honestly in the mirror, we know that the warehouse industry has a bit of a stigma with it, right? So people come in and they churn. We don't have a lot of tenure in the organization. So being able to develop that skill set and build the culture,
right,
that provides a nice, safe environment tends to be, I think, one of the biggest challenges.
Right. I mean, we have heard some very, strange numbers, very, incredible numbers. Like in e-commerce warehousing, 50% of the labor pool is churning every. Have,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, e-commerce, maybe it's at the high end because
Mhm.
of the seasonality of it.
Right.
But every business out there has its cycles, it has its seasonality, and it doesn't matter whether it's, e-commerce or durable goods. You're going to have, or even candy, you're going to have seasons where you need to have more people to ship it out to your customers, and you're going to hire for those peaks, and you're going to let people go when those volumes tail off a little bit.
Mhm.
But at the same time, the landscape out there is very, very competitive, right? We know that the logistics business is growing. It's going to grow by at least 15% this year. That means that that workforce has lots of options,
Right.
and it's a very fickle workforce. They're willing to change from one operator to another operator for 25 cents, for 50 cents, for whatever that number might be,
Mhm.
because the work environment itself isn't a big differentiator.
Right.
It's all about getting getting those wages in their pocket.
So in your experience leading operations, how have you managed the labor churn? Because I'm assuming that when you have new people coming in, training is an issue, and new people means that maybe they have less experience operating heavy dangerous equipment and cause accidents, or maybe they're just not that efficient.
Yeah. So I wish that I had the silver bullet answer and could be sharing that, right? Um, it's a continual effort to try to keep, attract and retain the team members that you want.
Mhm.
Um, and whether you want to try to be the highest paid or the best paying employer out there. I think when it comes down to is the employer of choice has to be the one that's going to create a culture that the
Right.
team members want to be a part of. So I think we really need to focus on, making that work environment
Mhm.
more than just a place to come to where you punch in and punch out. We talk about, we want you to go home in the same condition that you arrived at work in, right? So that's all about being safe. And so what can we do inside of that work environment where your employee, your team member
Mhm.
knows that the equipment that they're going to operate is in good condition,
Right.
and that they're not going to be put in a situation that might hurt and harm them.
Right. Got it. Yeah. At the end of the day, everybody in EHS and management or operations leadership uh, wants that 100% productivity goal without compromising the safety of their people. If the people can keep coming back to work, you don't have unplanned downtime, days off work. And if people are safe, that means their facilities are safe, their equipment is safe, less damages. We've been hearing a lot from the people that we talk to, especially our customers or potential customers, that they've seen like 100 to $200,000 of damage per facility per year. Is that number high, low, or does that kind of fit the bill for what you have seen?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that number is unreasonable. I would I would be comfortable saying the number could be higher than that as well.
Right.
Your personal injury costs are unfortunately limitless almost.
Right.
But just in terms of equipment, you know, um, the replacement costs on the components themselves are expensive.
Hmm.
There's labor shortages today in material handling equipment technicians, repair
Hmm.
technicians. So then the amount of downtime to that equipment has waiting for a repair,
Right.
all those things add up. So I think $100,000 or $200,000 annually is a fairly conservative number. So there's a big opportunity to reduce those expenses
Hmm.
by having a safe work environment.
Got it. So if you could change one thing about the way things are done today, or maybe more than one thing, if you have some ideas, what would you change?
So for me, I think what we really need to focus on, I talked about it a little bit, is the culture. We need to change the stigma of
Mhm.
working inside of a warehouse.
Right.
And even here we are in 2021, and warehouse could be a hot place to work. It could be a dirty place to work. It could be long hours. It's 24/7. Um, but it doesn't have to be a bad place to work, right? So if an employee, knows that they're coming there because they feel like they're part of a team, that their employer cares about their safety, that, they are giving them modern tools to work with, or, at least, good systems to work with. The equipment's in good condition. They feel like they're part of a team, and they feel like they're part of a solution. They're not just there to, churn out more widgets, to load more trucks, to pick more, parts. They feel like they're part of the environment, and they can take some pride in that. So I think that's a fairly, I think, big idea. A lot of things a lot of pieces to go into making it happen. That's what's going to take, is finding out what those little things are that'll make the employee feel like it's a place of pride to come and work at, versus just a place to go and punch the clock.
Right. I come in and make my, 15, $20 an hour and I'm done, versus, okay, I want to belong here. Like, there's an interesting, case study being done in the restaurant industry. Like Chick-fil-A has some of the highest, associate retention rates, and people actually start their career and retire at Chick-fil-A, versus some other place, in the food industry, I don't want to take names, may have extremely high labor churn and no retention at all. Have you seen that by creating a culture of safety, or letting your people know that their safety, their health is of utmost importance to you? Have you seen the impact on the business, on the bottom line? Have you experienced that personally?
Yeah, absolutely. We've had programs in place that recognize safe work environment, and when you do that, you can see that team members will bring ideas around what it takes to have that safe workplace.
Right.
They will watch out for each other to make sure that their coworker is not only safe for themselves, but not creating a situation that might be unsafe for others.
Right.
And it's a good way that everybody can root around a common goal, right? Nobody's gonna stand alone and say, well, I don't want to be safe, right?
Nobody's going to say that.
Everybody sees that as a common objective, that they want a safe place to work. So in that sense, it's very, very easy to say, hey, who can't get behind this?
Right.
And in doing so, as long as it's done with a genuine sense of concern and some real recognition, it's not recognizing, hey, we didn't report any incidents, but hey, what are the ideas that we've created that have generated a safe place to work? And it might be, anybody that identifies this pallet is in the rack and the pallet's broken. Well, hey, you identified that, so you eliminated a risk situation.
Right.
Or hey, I've identified that the seatbelt on my forklift is starting to wear. Hey, you identified something. Let's recognize that. So it's all these things that proactively recognize risk and then help remove that risk.
Right. So if I was to kind of paraphrase that, what you're saying is, being reactive about safety is not enough, like reacting to something that happens. Rather, being proactive and kind of changing the system itself, like bringing about a systemic change, is what is going to make the workplace safer, which increases labor retention, and eventually that is what improves productivity. Because if you have more labor churn, I'm assuming the hiring cost goes up, training cost goes up, newbies coming in means more damages, more accident, more product damage, right? So
absolutely. I mean, you did a very good job of capturing that and distilling it into, it's not good enough to report about what happened, right? If you want, go pick up a newspaper, pick up a magazine, you can read about yesterday's news, really, but it's about what's it going to take to be the news maker today.
Right.
So let's be proactive, and let's create that environment so that our training is all about bringing in new employees because our business is growing. It's not about trying to plug the dike because people are leaving, right?
Right. So where do you see the industry going? I mean, there's so much, boom in e-commerce, and if you look at the political atmosphere in the U.S., we're trying to bring a lot of manufacturing jobs back, and there's a lot of talk of human-robot collaboration, or technologies, AI, robotics, helping humans in the workplace increase productivity. What do you see happening in the industry over the next 3, 5, 10 years?
Yeah, so with all that manufacturing coming back, we do have our labor rates are what they are, right? It's not going to be the low cost manufacturer or conversion.
Mhm.
That being said, the total supply chain needs to keep those costs contained to where they can. So I think that you're going to still see uh, the distribution side of the business shifting out to third-party logistics.
Got it. Okay.
And it's because that's where their area of expertise is, right? So let's just focus the supply chain on the different center of excellence.
Mhm.
Third-party logistics, they can do what's best there. What manufacturing conversion focus on what they do best.
Mhm.
So, I certainly believe that third-party logistics distribution is going to continue to grow over
Mhm.
the next several years. We'll start to see that 2021 will be that year of recovery or normalization coming out of COVID.
Mhm.
And from there on up, I think, you'll see more and more of manufacturers partnering with their third-party logistics counterparts to help execute their business. Yeah, having said that, um, automation and robotics, it's going to make a play. And I think automation and robotics costs are starting to come down. So it's
Mhm.
really not just limited to those manufacturers or third-party logistics companies that have really deep pockets. There's an opportunity now for it to become more prevalent um, across the entire landscape.
Got it. So you see not just the big boys, so to speak, in the business, but the mid-sized companies, the regionals or the national level companies, not just the global enterprises, adopting these technologies because then now they can afford it, they can pilot it, trial it. What do you feel about the trends if we narrow it down in workplace safety? Like what's happening there? And if you can tie that into your top three recommendations that you would make to your peers or other people in operations in EHS, what should they do to make sure that their people are safe?
So over the last couple of years, what I've seen is a lot of movement towards behavioral-based safety,
Mm-hmm.
right? Understanding what's going on in the workforce. What can we do with the team members to help drive them to a safer workday?
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's influencing the training, um, changing the environment,
Mm-hmm.
different tools, whatever have you. The area though that we lack in today still is all around data collection,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we've got this goal out there, but the strategy to execute it, I think, is still gapped.
Right.
And the third party logistics industry has been very good at, get it done, right? So load a truck, pick a box, unload a truck, put a pallet away, what have you. Um, what I think is going to happen, what I think needs to happen in the third party logistics industry is a an adoption
Mm-hmm.
of technology, right? So we see that more and more of them are implementing reliable WMS systems,
Mm-hmm.
LMS, labor management systems. You've got your transportation management systems, and those tools are all important to the bread and butter and to labor management, to efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
Having a means to do data collection around employee behavior
Right.
is important to being able to change that behavior, create an environment that works for them. Now, I think in addition to that, is just going to become is a third party organization having a strong big data
Mm-hmm.
strategy.
Right.
I think that as your shippers begin to partner with you more,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to be looking for a third party organization to have a strong analytics team,
Mm-hmm.
right? So for me, the trend says, hey, there's going to be more um, third party logistics opportunity. Customers are going to be looking for them, but they're going to expect them to do more than just load trucks or unload trucks. There's going to be a dependency on data,
Mm-hmm.
and the data piece should be able to go through the entire landscape of a warehouse environment, whether it's in understanding what your volumes are or understanding what your people are doing and how your equipment's being used.
Right. So people, product, equipment, right?
Yep.
That's the goal, right? And if I understand correctly, if I boil it down into the fundamentals, the industry is transitioning, or what you're recommending is the industry needs to accelerate its transition towards data-driven uh, management, data-driven insights, analytics, But the challenge there is for leaders is they know that they want data, they know that they need to do data-driven decision making, but they don't have enough tools or resources to collect the right data and manage that data.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the tools that are out there, they have an air of, I think, complexity about them too.
Right.
Right. So there are these big, robust tools, and those might be fine and well. But, right now we have to make that first bold step, right? So what can we do to provide the businesses with something that's simple, that doesn't have that complexity, that's easy to implement to, your floor level team members to
Right.
be able to use, and then your leadership team to be able to pull data out of and analyze, right? If you present somebody with this super complex solution, it's big and scary and it's less likely to be accepted. But to have something that can go in a very simple format that solves a very specific issue, you start to, I think, make it very easy for, an organization that hadn't had a significant amount of technology there to now be able to start to accept, adopt, embrace technology.
Right. What we've seen in the industry sometimes with some you could say laggards in the space. Some businesses are fast movers. They're early adopters. They want to try and test everything new and they want to move forward. And Amazon is a good example of that. Some players in the industry tend to be laggards. They want to wait for everybody else to get it, and then they may think about it. What is your recommendation to them? Do you think that they need to change their mindset?
I don't think that anybody can afford to be a lagger. I think even if we think about what the trend in manufacturing coming back, manufacturers are going to have to continue to position themselves to be, first movers almost, right? And if you're a first mover manufacturer, you're going to be expecting your business partners to be first movers as well in that continuous improvement space. So I think if you're in the logistics space and you know that you're a lagger, it's really time for you to reevaluate the situation and put together a strategy that embraces technology, that embraces continuous improvement, and put something behind it.
Right. Or most likely you're heading towards your doom.
Yeah.
In today's age. So with that, Mike, I wanted to kind of bring in a little bit of what we do and wanted to hear from you what you think in that data collection piece. Something that resonates well with our customers about what Sierra does is we can help them understand the behavior of their equipment operators to understand not just how many impacts they have, but how many near misses they have through the machine vision technology and AI. How do you think that data can be used by operations managers, facility managers to improve the behavior of the people? What would be your recommendation? How should they use that information?
Yeah, I think that it's I think that the Sierra tool that's out there is really revolutionary. There's lots of products out there today that will tell you, hey, this guy just hit something. Right. Go and restart his lift if it's still drivable or operable, or take him off of that one, put it in for inspection, and go send him out for a drug test. Right.
Right.
But what we don't have enough of today is this guy is driving really fast, taking his corners quickly. We know that you do that one too many times, and you're going to end up, hitting the edge of the rack because you misjudge it. You're going to knock over a stack of product. You're going to collide with another piece of equipment, and God forbid you're not going to see a pedestrian and you're going to strike a pedestrian.
Right.
But you don't know that about those behaviors because warehouses today, I mean, let's face it, they're all 1 million square feet. You don't have enough leadership on the floor. Right. Everybody's busy trying to get stuff done. So behaviors like that go unnoticed. But to have a tool be able to sort of self-report, to have your safety organizations be able to review those types of behaviors, then they can go and now put some meat behind their behavior-based safety.
Mm-hmm.
Say, hey, are we doing enough in our training for our operators to know what the risks are of this type of behavior? Are we, do we need to have more leadership on the floor in order to monitor and to coach, not only for safety, but to coach for performance?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, to me, that's what I see as the advantages of, the S3 tool out there to help proactively bring awareness to how operators are operating before you're out there cleaning up a spill.
Right. So it's not about cleaning up the mess afterward. It's about making sure the mess never happens.
Exactly.
Right. So with that, Mike, I want to thank you so much for your time. I think we learned a lot today. You kind of resonated on a lot of the points that we've been discussing in the industry, and you brought out a lot of new things that operations and EHS leaders need to look into. Particularly, the big thing you mentioned here is that we need to accelerate the transition towards digitization. And the challenge therein obviously is, how do we collect the data? We need better tools. We need easier tools. We need better tools to collect data on people, product, and equipment. And by collecting that data and using that data to analyze behaviors of the people involved, particularly, you can then change their mindset and bring a culture change long term that eventually increases their efficiency and safety, making you productive.
Yep. Very, very well said. Spot on. I agree with you 100%. And, it's, you need to start now, because that transition, it's going to take a bit of time.
It's going to take time.
To yield those results. But if you keep putting it off, you're just never going to get there.
Absolutely agreed. Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you for your time today.